What is up, guys? It's Akimbo the Good Time Gaming, and today we're going to be taking a look at the recently changed and redesigned skill tree for the Mastermind. So here's how it's going to kind of happen in this video, guys. So what I'm really going to focus on in this one is looking at and comparing what the major changes were from the old skill trees into the new update 100 skill trees. Everything's kind of changed. If you're looking for specific builds, I'm going to do that in a separate video because I don't really think it's right to call a build a primarily like a Mastermind build when you can spend points all over the place and you're probably not going to have any particular tree where you're going to have a shitload of points and like none elsewhere, because you really benefit more from spreading them out. So what we're going to do here mainly, like I said, is just kind of go through each skill, talk about it a little bit, see what's kind of changed, where old skills that used to be in Mastermind and maybe ended up, and then I'll kind of give some suggestions of where you can kind of put things together to make some really awesome shit happen. So without further ado, let's get to it. So right off the bat, you guys probably notice things look a whole lot different than what they used to. Despite there looking like there's a lot more skills, it's kind of actually a little more, I feel, better put together. Everything kind of flows and makes more sense than what it used to. So actually, I kind of like the new skill setup so far. But anyways, we're just going to talk about Mastermind. So let's get it started right here. So you see you have three separate trees. You have Medic, Controller, and Sharpshooter. Each one with skills that basically contribute to and kind of define what that little part of Mastermind tree is. So let's start here with Medic. Right off the top, we have Combat Medic. Basically this, you gain a 30% damage reduction for 5 seconds, both after and during reviving another player. When you're reviving someone and then right after, you have 30% damage reduction. Well, pretty nice. And then also, if you decide to ace it, reviving a crew member gives them 30% more health. So they get 30% more health back than what they would have normally if you revive them. What's nice here is you only need 1 point to get into the first tier of Mastermind. So we're going to only put 1 point there for right now. Let's check out Quick Fix here on the left. Decreases your first aid kit and doctor bag deploy time by 50%. Pretty self-explanatory. Crew members that use your first aid kits or doctor bags take 15% less damage for 120 seconds. So anybody who uses a charge out of your doctor bag or one of your first aid kits will take 15% less damage for 2 minutes. So not too bad, not too bad. Over here we have Painkillers. Crew members you revive take 30% less damage for 5 seconds, and if you ace it, the damage reduction is increased by an additional 50%. Now, something that's kind of like the first major change here is that if you notice here, so down here at Combat Medic, it only costs 1 point for basic, 3 to ace. If you notice up here, it's now increased by 1 point respectively for each one. So it costs 2 points for a basic, 4 points for an ace, for a total of 6 points. Normally, it would have kept with the 1 to 3 until you got up until I believe it was tier 4 of the old skill tree, where it then became more points after that. So that's one change to kind of be aware of. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the points over here into the doctor stuff. So you see, just one level again will bump me up into the 3rd tier. So we've only spent 3 points so far, and we're in tier 3. All right, tier 3, first one, Uppers. If you'll remember, Uppers used to be in Fugitive. It is now over in Mastermind. All of the health regeneration stuff has been put together. So all of the doctor bag skills, all the first aid skills are right here in Medic in the same place. So Uppers will add 7 more first aid kits to your inventory for the basic of this. In the Ace version, you add 3 kits to your inventory. Your deployed first aid kits will automatically be used if a player is down within a 5-meter radius of the first aid kit. This cannot occur more than once every 20 seconds. So if you take fatal damage that would have normally knocked you down, the kit will automatically be consumed and you will be healed by it. Pretty cool. It's probably good for like if you're trying to camp or if you're trying to hold a certain position. You can have like some guys sprinkle some little kits near you, like little cupcakes of goodness. And then if you take too much damage, then it's automatically going to come back and fill your health and you won't die. So pretty cool. I have a little clip here demonstrating that if you guys want to watch this.
Alright, I'm here. Get the box over here.
He's in hell.
So pretty cool stuff. Definitely pretty cool. Over here in Combat Doctor, you can now deploy 2 doctor bags instead of just 1 with a basic. Ace version, you can have 2 more charges. So it's basically the exact same as what it was before. So these cost 3 points for a basic, 6 for an ace, and then down here in tier 1, I guess you would call it, tier 2, whatever you want to say, 2 points for basic, 4 for ace, and then the basic version is 1 and 3. So let's see, I want to get to Inspire, so I'm actually going to go ahead and probably ace that one, and then ace Combat Doctor, and that'll put me up at the top. You need 16 points total to get into the top tier, so with that I have all the points I need to do that. With Inspire, things are quite a bit different now, guys. Alright, so basic version for 4 points. You revive crew members 50% faster, and shouting at your teammates will increase the movement speed by 20% for 10 seconds. Now here's where the big change is. Aced version, 8 points. There is a 100% chance that you can revive crew members at a distance by shouting at them. Awesome! This cannot occur more than once every 20 seconds. So, wow. No more spamming, get the fuck up, on your knees, you know, none of that stuff. You can get somebody up once every 20 seconds. So you guys better be watching your ass and not dying. And believe me, I've only put a couple hours into this game in the updated skills, and you should not be dying for any reason. Shit is way overpowered. So I'm gonna go ahead and ace Inspire for this build. If you also notice, none of these things cost any money, so you no longer need money to upgrade your skills or spec out of them, which I think is a very good decision. A really, really good decision, actually. So good news there. Alright, we're going to go over to Sharpshooter now. I'm going to save Controller for last for a certain reason. So Sharpshooter is basically having to do with assault rifles, SMGs, and sniper rifles that are fired in single shot mode. Okay, so one shot, one kill, basically. Let's start out at the very bottom here in the first tier. So we have Stable Shot. Basic version of this, you gain 8 weapon stability, pretty self-explanatory. Acing it, you gain 16 weapon accuracy while standing still. So if you're not moving, you have 16 more accuracy than what you would normally. Alright, over here on Rifleman, your snap to zoom is 100% faster with all weapons. Your movement speed is unhindered while using Steel Sight. This skill used to be in Technician, it was the second tier skill I believe, and it is now over here in Mastermind. So keep that in mind, guys. Acing this skill will make it so your weapon level zoom is increased by 25% with all weapons. Your weapon accuracy while moving with SMGs, assault rifles, and sniper rifles goes up by 50%. So you get a little bit more zoom, and also your weapon accuracy while moving is quite a bit more. Marksman, you gain 8 weapon accuracy with all SMGs, sniper rifles, and assault rifles fired in single shot mode. Acing it will give you 20% accuracy bonus while aimed down sights with all SMGs, assault rifles, sniper rifles fired in single shot mode. So basically more accuracy if you're firing a single shot, 20% more accuracy on top of that if you are aiming down your sights. High value target. Enemies you mark take 15% more damage. This one used to be its own little ability in tier 3 I believe, so it's over here now in Sharpshooter. So not everybody's probably going to have this skill. Based on where it kind of was at before and with like proximity to other skills you would want, like the skills to like intimidate hostages and that kind of thing, most people probably ended up with taking that skill, but I don't really see most people probably taking it anymore. I mean, some people probably will, but I don't think it's going to be as prevalent as what it used to be. That's just my thinking right now. So, acing high value target will make it so that enemies you mark take an additional 50% damage when further than 10 meters away. Now first off, that's a typo because it should say farther, because farther is the word you use when you're referring to distance. Further is not the one you want to use with distance. Farther is like, how much farther to a gas station? Well, it's 10 miles farther down the road. Further is like, I want to push the bill further. I want to talk to you further about this thing. So that's the problem I have right there. Wrong usage. Get it together. Anyways, increase the duration of marked enemies by 100%, and you can now mark specials by aiming at them with any weapon. So you don't have to press F, just aim at a special with any weapon at all and it'll mark them. And the duration will also increase. Kinda seems a little situational / worthless. The first part's not bad of the ace, right? They get 50% more damage when they're further than 10 meters away, so that's not necessarily bad. The duration doesn't really matter because you just kind of spam mark people anyway, so I don't really see what's so special about that. My only concern with this is that based on the weapons other people might be using, they may not be able to even take advantage of the 50% bonus. Because if people are using shotguns or they're using weapons that have low accuracy, they may not even be able to hit the targets that effectively anyways, so I'm not really sure what the use is there. And also consider, I mean, you're only really able to use this against a small percentage of enemies, so like your shields, tasers, cloaker, dozer, and then snipers, which have like 80 health. So you can't really get a whole lot of use out of it. Acing it, probably not so much worth it. You probably spend your points elsewhere. If you're on a specific map, like maybe the forest, or some map with a huge map with like great sightlines, then maybe it might be worth it, but I would say generally, probably not so much. Also in the third tier, we have Aggressive Reload. Increases your reload speed with SMGs, assault rifles, and sniper rifles by 15%. Acing the skill will make it so that any killing headshot will reduce your reload time by 40% for 2 seconds. It can only be triggered by SMGs, assault rifles, sniper rifles fired in single shot mode. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So basically, anyone that you kill will give you 40% buff on your reload time for 2 seconds. Not bad, right? So basically, if you're wanting the old Kilmer, like how Kilmer used to increase your reload speed, you're probably going to want to ace this one. I've used it with 15%, and it doesn't feel like it's that bad, but it does feel a little slower than normal. You can combine this with some other skills to make it a little bit better. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but basic version is probably definitely worth it. Acing it, not the worst idea in the world. I definitely miss the quicker reload though, so I might start acing this myself in my builds. I'm gonna throw some points here just to get to the top tier so we can talk about that. Ammo efficiency is our top tier skill. The basic version of this will make it so that getting 3 headshots in less than 6 seconds will refund 1 bullet to your used weapon. It can only be triggered by SMGs, assault rifles, and sniper rifles fired in single shot mode. Acing it will make it so that the number of headshots required is reduced to 2. So basically, if you get 3 headshots in a row in less than 6 seconds, you refund 1 bullet into your weapon. For anyone keeping track, that's a lot of points to spend just to get a little bit of ammo into your guns. I can see where this could be handy. I mean, if you're kind of spraying down a hallway or a tight group of enemies and you're just like kind of popping heads, like boom, 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 you can keep on going a little bit more than what you probably would normally. But I'm having a hard time really seeing the value in spending so many points. I mean, basically you can spend up to 12 points here, 4 for sure, 12 if you want to get it down to 2 headshots. If it was like maybe per headshot, that might be a little bit better, but that'd probably be really, really good. I probably won't be using this skill at all. I've been playing around with some different builds here and there, and I haven't really found much of a use for this skill. There's better skills out there, I feel like, than this one. But it is something that's available if you think you might be interested in it. Just bear in mind that you have to be using single shot mode. And kind of my concern with that is that if you're using single shot mode on assault rifle or sniper rifle, then you're probably going to one-shot kill most enemies anyways, or maybe 2-shot at the very, very most. So I'm not really sure how valuable that is. For a sniper rifle, yeah, it could be. But for anything else, I'm not so sure. Finally, we come to controller, which I think is probably the most interesting of the 3 trees in the Mastermind section. So let's start with that. Alright, forced friendship. Kind of sounds like rape. Anyways, basic version. Increase your supply of cable ties by 4. Keep the cable tie hostages 75% faster. So AC will make it so that you and your crew gain 0.5 damage absorption for each hostage you have. This effect stacks up to a maximum of 8 hostages. Note this skill does not stack with other players' forced friendship skill. So if you have 8 hostages, then you get 4 damage absorption altogether. That's actually not that bad. The problem here though is that most maps don't really have 8 hostages to begin with. If you can get enough cops dominated, then maybe you can push it to 8. But generally, most of your heists are not going to have 8 hostages running around on them. And certainly not 8 hostages that you can get tied down, put together, and then reliably controlled for any amount of time. The bank heists are pretty much reliable as far as that goes. You can get hostages. There's certain corners of the maps that you can stash them onto where they're safe. But in general, probably not going to be able to take full advantage of that on most maps. Just kind of bear that in mind. Alright, coming up next here, we have Confident. The basic version of this makes it that the power and range of your intimidation is increased by 50%. The aced version allows you to have 2 converted enemies at the same time. Not that bad. Basic version, kind of shitty, kind of like whatever, you know, doesn't really matter. Aced version, you get an extra cop hostage, so that's not actually that bad of a thing. We now have Joker in Tier 2. So with Joker, you can convert a non-special enemy to fight on your side. Basically the same as it was before, can't convert any guys during stealth, and can't convert specials. Acing will make it such a converted enemy takes 55% less damage, and they deal 45% more damage. The time to convert an enemy is also reduced by 65%. It doesn't make any sense to go ahead and ace Confident if you're not going to take Joker, because Confident's really only going to work in its ace version if you have Joker anyways. So we're going to go ahead and take Joker. In Tier 3, we have Stockholm Syndrome. Civilians are intimidated by the noise you make and remain intimidated 50% longer. So anytime you're firing a gun near a civilian, they're going to get down on the ground and they're going to stay down there. And they will do so 50% longer than what they would normally. The ace version will make it so that your hostages will not flee when they have been rescued by law enforcers. Whenever you go into custody, your hostages will trade themselves for your safe return. This effect can occur during assaults, but only one time during a heist. Interesting, but kind of still shitty for a lot of the same reasons as it was before. Basic version of this, not that bad. Hostages stay down longer, they remain intimidated longer, but again, most maps don't have huge numbers of hostages on them anyways, and most of the time you don't really need hostages to begin with. Sure, you can use it and it can synergize really well with like forced friendship, but in general you don't really need hostages and you're not going to be able to get that many to begin with. The ace version isn't really that bad either. Hostage gets rescued, he's not going to run off anywhere, so you can just kind of go and retie them. But if you don't have cable ties, you can't retie them. So if you've used all your ties, it doesn't really matter because you can't benefit from the hostage to begin with. Furthermore, taking this ace ability is kind of like basically admitting you suck in a way, because you're basically taking it with the assumption that, well, if I go into custody, I can just come right back in the middle of a heist, right? Because it's during an assault phase. Kind of stupid. I don't really think it's a good way to do things. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure in some respects. You should be focused on staying alive, doing the job, and doing it well, versus taking something like, well, what if my ass gets put into custody, you know? I wouldn't bother acing it or even probably taking the basic version of this at all. For some maps it might be helpful, like Go Bank. If you're trying to do Go Bank, it would probably be good because you can get the hostages down that are off the map, but pretty much anywhere else, I would just really pass on it. Next we have Partners in Crime. Having a converted enemy increases your movement speed by 10%. Your converted enemy takes 45% less damage, does not stack with Joker damage reduction, but multiplies. Aced version. Having a converted enemy increases your health by 30%. So the only thing I'm not really sure about with this tier is whether or not the basic and ace version stack together. I'm assuming they don't. Now I'm not really entirely sure if this stacks at all, okay? Obviously the first part are different, but I don't know if the second part stacks with each other, which comes out to be around close to 80% reduction if my math is correct. I failed math my junior and senior year of high school, and I didn't do too well in college, so I could be wrong about that. But either way, you kind of get the idea that these things multiply together, so you're gonna have a little bit more. If you're going for Joker and you want to have converts, it's probably worth it to go ahead and ace it, but just kind of bear in mind the same problems exist now as they did before when it came to converting enemies. If you're sitting there spamming and taking damage left and right trying to convert an enemy, you're not really doing yourself a favor and you're not really helping your team. You're just putting yourself in danger. There's going to be some enemies that no matter what you do, they're not going to want to convert, they're not going to want to get down. So you got to be smart about it if you're going to use this. But I've been using it running 2 cops around the map, and it's actually pretty cool, and they're a lot smarter than what they used to be, which is not really saying a lot, but it is saying something. You can see here I have 2 converted FBI agents on the Firestarter map, and if you notice, I move around the map and they kind of loosely follow me. They're a little bit slow to do so, but they do eventually migrate over to where I'm at. So it's kind of nice if you're trying to hold down a position or you're moving around the map, they're going to generally follow you. They might get kind of caught up on stuff and kind of slowly do it, but generally they're going to be right behind you, so not that bad. Given that you can pretty easily switch between skills and there's no money associated with it, I'll probably be using Joker and Partners in Crime a lot more than what I used to, so I'm going to look out for that. And last but not least, we have Hostage Taker. This is basically the exact same as what it was in the old game. So, basic version, having at least 1 hostage or converted law enforcer will make you regenerate 1.5% health every 5 seconds. Acing it will make it so that having at least 1 hostage or convert makes you regenerate 4.5% health every 5 seconds. So before, I don't believe it actually counted if you had a converted law enforcer, but it does now. So if you have a hostage, great. If you don't, convert somebody and get your health back. This is definitely a major plus. Again, not really sure if it's worth it, because if you're using something like Grinder, you won't need it anyways, but for some builds, it might be worth it to go ahead and put that in there, at least the basic version. It's even better though, because it actually will work off of your converted guy, so you can convert an enemy if you take some damage doing so. You know, it's not such a bad thing, it'll get your health back in a little bit. So final thoughts as far as the Mastermind section is concerned. Everything I feel like is pretty good. There are some skills here I'd probably never use in most situations. Generally though, I think most skills have uses, or most skills are good in certain builds. Stockholm Syndrome I think is still unfortunately just not worth it at all. But everything else I feel like has its uses, has its areas where you might want to use it. Rifleman, yeah, kind of debatable, not really my thing. Some people might like that kind of stuff, but not my cup of tea. Ace version, high value target, situational I feel like at best, maybe overkill even in some situations. But overall, everything's pretty cool, right? Now, you guys might be wondering, what the fuck happened to the pistol skills? Well, I'll show you where they're at. Pistol skills have now been moved down to Fugitive and rolled into their separate little thing there called Gunslinger. Tier 1, we have Equilibrium, decrease the time it takes to draw and holster pistols by 80%, and then acing it will give you 8 weapon accuracy with all pistols. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. In the next tier, we have Gun Nut. Your pistol magazine size is increased by 5, and you have 50% increased rate of fire with pistols. So you'll recognize the second part was a part of Mastermind before. The first skill there is kind of a new one. We also have our Akimbo Skills there, which I'm not really going to go into because it's kind of its own video later on with the fugitive side of things. In the next tier, we have One-Handed Talent, which kind of sounds like masturbation. I have one-handed talent in that regard. Basic version of this increases all pistol damage by 5. If you ace it, it goes up an additional 10 damage. So this is what you're going to need if you want to have the old 15 damage back in your gun. Also here in tier 3, we have Desperado. Each successful pistol hit gives you a 10% increased accuracy bonus for 10 seconds and stacks up to 4 times. Acing it will allow you to reload all pistols 50% faster. So if you want your pistol reload speed, you gotta ace Desperado. Another skill you might be noticing that is not here is Pistol Messiah. Well, it's over here actually, in the Revenant side of Fugitive. And it's now just called Messiah. Basic version of this is while in bleed out, you can revive yourself if you kill an enemy. You only have 1 charge. Acing it will allow so that your Messiah charge is replenished whenever you use a Doctor Bag. It specifies Doctor Bag in the text, so I'm assuming that doesn't mean you can use a first aid kit. I'm really kind of disappointed in this because this is a lot of points to spend for something that is just so very minimal in what it gives you. I mean, basically you're spending 4 points so you can revive yourself if you kill an enemy. I mean, that's it. And then you can spend 8 more points if you want to get your charge back by using a Doctor Bag. 12 points for basically not anything really great in return. Kind of a sad day for Mastermind as far as I'm concerned in that regard. Last but not least, I want a really quick rundown through Technician. If you're looking for rapid fire, auto fire, assault rifles, you need to go into Technician and go over here to Oppressor because that's where they've been moved. Remember that the skills over here in Sharpshooter Mastermind are primarily geared towards single shot fired weapons. If you want a auto fire weapon, you gotta come over to Technician and go into Oppressor. So real quick here, we'll look at these. Fire control will give you more accuracy from aiming from the hip, and it will increase your accuracy while aiming from the hip while moving. Surefire will make it so that your SMGs, LMGs, and assault rifles gain 15 more bullets in their magazines. Acing it will make it so that your ranged weapons can pierce through body armor, so that's like the stuff that's on the tan squats. You can go straight through that. And last but not least, the ace version of this will make it so that killing 2 enemies with SMGs, LMGs, or assault rifles, or special weapons set on automatic fire mode will reduce your next reload time by up to 60%. This bonus is reduced by 1% for each bullet above 20 in the total magazine size, down to a minimum of 20% reload reduction. So the way I kind of read that, and from what I've kind of been playing with in game, if you have more bullets than 20 in there, then your weapon reload bonus gets reduced because of it. So more than likely, best to just kind of empty out as many bullets as you can before you try and pop a reload into it. In most situations, it probably won't even matter, and honestly, you probably won't even need the ace version of this, or even really the basic, probably, to begin with. But it's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. So that, my friends, brings us to the end of this introduction to the Mastermind changes. So there's been a lot of changes. Most of them, I'd say, are probably overall good. The Inspire change is probably one of the bigger ones, but honestly, Inspire was kind of really too good probably to begin with, and I feel like this is a pretty reasonable change given that, you can't spam it anymore. So that's it for this video, guys. I will be releasing some builds here in the next couple of days or so, but I just want to kind of run down these changes real quick with you guys, give you all some ideas of things you can kind of work with, and just get the ball rolling on this. We've got a lot of changes, a lot of cool stuff we can do, and I'm excited. So let me know what you guys think of the Mastermind changes. What do you think of Fugitive stuff being put in there? So pistol skills now in Fugitive. We now have first aid kits and doctor bags in Mastermind. A lot of change there. I'm okay with it. This is Akimbo Good Time Gaming. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share if you like anything you saw today. And remember to always have a good time gaming.